You all for coming out tonight and joining the webinar. My name is Abdul Kareem Dewan, and I am the president of Citrus Jersey NSBE Professionals. And you are here today to get some tips on travel hacking for 2017. I know most of us here are professionals. We like to work hard, 9 to 5, 9 to 6, sometimes even 9 to 9. I know all about that life. But yeah, we are just here to, get some ideas of, the upcoming summer, or we're in summer now, and how you as professionals could best, utilize your travels and get the most out of it. If you're traveling for work or just traveling for pleasure, either way, there's always ways to best optimize your experience on the road and, just with friends and family outside of the workplace. And tonight we have our two presenters, Priscilla Paul and Orain Williams. Priscilla earned her bachelor's in chemical engineering from the Cooper Union in New York. Since graduating with a master's and doctorate also in chemical engineering from Rensselaer Polytech Institute in Troy, New York. In 2013, she has worked at Accenture as a management consultant, helping top pharmaceutical companies to transition their organization through complex changes. She is passionate about supporting STEM education from underrepresented minorities and has been participated in leadership roles in organizations such as National Society of Black Engineers, NSBE, and Minority Graduate Student Associations through her school years. As a professional, she continues to dedicate her time to promote and support inclusion and diversity at work. She participates in the Accenture's Skill to Succeed initiative to equip 800,000 plus people with the skills that opens doors to economic opportunities by working with Upwardly Global to practice interview skills with professional immigrants, candidates, and Genesis work to review college applications, personal statements for interested applicants. Orain Williams, influenced early on in his career by the iconic read Rich Dad Poor Dad, Orain noticed that financial literacy wasn't a prominent topic within urban communities and families. Using his passion and dedication, he merely pulled together his resources to fill the void. His first audience, a group of high school students, allowed him to see firsthand the barriers that today's young people have to overcome. As the child of Jamaican immigrants, Orain's personal power lies in his ability to connect and relate to young people. After purchasing his first house at the age of 23, Orain received even more fuel to spread the message of financial literature to others. To date, the compassionate speaker has spoken in front of thousands of high school students and college students throughout the country. It is with those experiences that he has led to start and build his business, Brand New Motivations LLC. Orain has been offering services that provide tangible action steps for youth speaking engagement, workshops, training, and interactive activities around financial literacy, entrepreneurship, self-branding, mentoring, and youth programming. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Priscilla Paul and Orain Williams.
Thanks, Abdul. Hi, so just to introduce some more fun facts about ourselves, we have a couple of intro slides. So I'm Priscilla. I live in Jersey City. As Abdul mentioned, I have a PhD in chemical engineering, and I'm a management consultant at Accenture. I love travel, mostly for leisure. I do travel a lot for work. Right now, I'm in Chicago for work for the next few months, 4 days a week. But we're going to hopefully show you how to travel for fun and make the most out of any business trips you have. So far, I've been to 20 countries and 6 continents. My favorite place that I've been so far has been Rome and domestically New Orleans. I love the food there. My favorite thing to do when I travel is to eat. And my next trip that's coming up is Belize this fall. So I have a couple pictures on the right just from some of my trips. I got to go to Trinidad. I've been to Haiti, Thailand. I got to see some elephants and a couple of other places. I'll pass it on to Orain.
Thank you so much, Priscilla, and thank you, Abdul, for having us here. As you know, my name is Lorraine Williams, and here I have kind of the title of professional traveler. So just a little bit more information about myself. Currently living in Union, New Jersey. Only lived in New Jersey. I have a BS in Business Administration from William Patterson. Currently, I have a contract in which I manage a training team. So for work, I get to do some travel there. And as you heard in my bio, I'm a speaker. I've just had my recent first international speaking engagement, and I work with different colleges, schools, and do conferences there. So far, I haven't traveled to as many countries as Priscilla, but I'm right on her tail at 16. I've been to 4 continents. My favorite destination has been Dubai in terms of internationally. Domestically, I'm very much in love with Miami. My favorite thing to do when traveling is I just like to explore and really immerse myself in the culture, food, activities, excursions, so on and so forth. And my next trip is actually, at the time we created this, was Grenada, but I actually just came back from there last week. So, and then going to San Fran, I believe, in early August. And then here's a few of my favorite traveling photos. Like I said, Dubai is my favorite. So there's me riding an ATV in the sand in Dubai. Earlier this year, I got to visit Europe for the first time. So I have Venice, just kind of overlooking the canals there from a nice rooftop terrace. I've got to visit Priscilla's favorite country, which was Rome. So there's me inside the Colosseum. Went to France as well earlier this year. Went to Aruba late last year and visited Detroit, Motor City, for the first time this year as well. So I got to explore, and I went to Hitsville, USA, which is an awesome, awesome experience to get to see Motown. So that's a little bit more information about us. And so we're going to dive deep into how you guys too can travel hack your way for this summer or later on in this year. So just to kind of give you guys a brief breakdown of our agenda, what we want to discuss. For those international trips, you need a passport. So we're going to talk about Passport 101. Obviously, I hope you need money to travel. So we're going to give you some budgeting tips. We're going to talk about maximizing your PTO and what I like to call bizcations, flight deal sites, some of the loyalty programs for airlines, hotels, and cars, credit card rewards, just some miscellaneous travel tips, and offer you guys some resources to really help you guys jumpstart your traveling days ahead. So starting with Passports 101. So for any international trip that you would like to take, you need a passport. Right now, millennials are really prioritizing experiences over collecting a bunch of stuff. And having a passport will open up so many doors for you to get so many international experiences. And realistically, only less than 10% of Americans have a passport. So please, ladies and gentlemen, apply for a passport. It does take some time. If you want to get it expedited, it does cost you a little bit more, but typically it'll take around 6 to 8 weeks to process everything. And you will need a passport photo. Typically you go to a local pharmacy, or if you are a AAA card member, you can also get your passport photo taken there for free, I believe, or if not, a very low cost. An adult passport does cost $135 and it is $110 to renew. If you do need to renew your passport, please begin that process as early as possible, because some countries may not let you in if your passport is going to expire within 6 months. So very important to make note of that. Some countries do require a visa for entry, so always check in advance and allow time to process that. Recently, I was to go on a trip with some folks, and unfortunately, they didn't have enough time to get their visas processed. So unfortunately, they could not attend. So to check out visas, there is a website for that we'll share with you at the end. So very important information about passports. I would love for everyone who watches this webinar to get a passport if you do not have one. It is literally the key to seeing the world. So, budgeting for travel. You should literally have a line item in your budget for traveling. So whether you want to save a little bit each paycheck or set a goal for the year, set aside money automatically to travel. Just like you budget for food or your car or gas, insurance, you should have a line item for travel as well. A good tip to budget for travel is to travel off peak. So when I went to Europe, I got my flight for less than $400 because I was traveling in the off peak season versus the summer season for Europe, where typically flights can be $800 plus. So that's a good way to better budget for a trip. So I was able to save money on transportation to get to my destination. A new thing recently that I've discovered is to travel based on a deal versus a destination. So once we share with you some of these deal sites and ways you can find deals, if you see a particular deal that meets your budget, go there versus thinking, hey, I want to go to Jamaica in August when that's a very high cost time to travel there. Just think about if you have a set amount of money you want to spend on your next trip, and let's just say it's $1,000, and based on you following some of the tips that we give you, and you see a deal to go to a certain place that meets your criteria, you go there. Maybe it may have not been on your radar previously, but because there was a deal, it was on sale, you were able to go there. Another way you could save some money is seek out Airbnbs versus staying at the 5-star hotels. Recently, even for business, sometimes I've stayed at Airbnbs. When I went to Europe, I stayed at a few Airbnbs. It can definitely offer you more bang for your buck, and especially if you're going to travel in a group, it's a great way to perhaps get some accommodations with maybe 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, pull-out couch, things of that nature, versus getting 3-4 different hotel rooms. And a lot of people really like all-inclusive trips because they feel, all-inclusive resorts are very popular in the Caribbean. People feel it's more cost effective, but is it really worth the cost? Studies have shown that paying, a la carte works out to be, not as cost savings as you may think. And for me, who's a person who's an explorer, if I'm going to stay at an all-inclusive place and always travel out the resort and explore and eat outside the resort and drink outside the resort, then I've literally wasted money staying at an all-inclusive resort. So think about those things when you're looking at all-inclusive. Next up is kind of maximizing PTO and what I like to call bizcation. So in this photo, literally, I was on a business trip conducting work at the pool in Orlando. So know your company's policy when it comes to PTO. So for the company I work for, I know every year I can carry over 5 days. So I stretch my vacation days so I can carry them over for the next year, so I could always have 5 more days to utilize. Another thing you can do is to plan around those company paid holidays. So if you know you have 4th of July off, plan a trip. So 4th of July this year falls on a Tuesday. So some companies may also give you the Monday, some may not. So if you take just the Monday off, then you have Saturday and Sunday. That's a nice 4-day weekend that you could perhaps travel somewhere and take advantage of that company day off. If your company has flex time or comp time, you can build up some PTO there by whether it's working an additional hour a day, or working on an additional project, or working on a Saturday to gain, a Monday off in the future. Think about those things. I talked about extended weekend trips. Just like I said, like you can do that for 4th of July this year, workcation or bizcation. So explore while on a work trip. I had to go to Detroit for a business trip. Once my presentation was done and I was able to do my meetings and stuff, I was off, I was able to go and explore the city, eat at different places, explore the museum, so forth and so on. So that's a way I could combine work and vacation, or business and a vacation. Think about when you have, your PTO for the year, depending on how your company's policy is, whether it's you accrue it, whether it's they give it to you all up front in the beginning of the year. Try to plan out how you want to utilize them. I would suggest not utilizing them all. You may want to carry some over if your company does allow for you to carry them over. And think about when you want to take a trip, and try to plan things around the off season if that is possible. Can you work remotely? Does your job allow for you to work from home 2 days a week, or work on a project remotely? You can incorporate that into being able to travel somewhere. So, take that long weekend, for example. I'm just going to use 4th of July as an example. Let's say you just take Monday as a PTO day. You already have Tuesday off for 4th of July. And if you can work remotely, you just work the rest of the week remotely. All you need is your internet connection, and there you go. You have a long weekend. You could extend it within the week, and you've only really utilized one PTO day. So that's another thing that you can do to kind of maximize your PTO. And also, you could do a workcation or a bizcation if your job allows you to travel. So there are a lot of Black travel groups that exist. So we have Bucket List Beast, No Madness, Travel New York, Up in the Air Life, Tastemakers, Black Girls Travel, and so many others. These are great additional resources for you to connect with other professionals that love to travel just like you may do, or just like you may want to do. Some of these travel groups do offer curated travel itineraries. So pretty much they have everything packaged and planned together for you. So if you're that busy professional that may not have time to research flights, accommodations, the things you want to do, places you want to eat, things you want to see, there are groups that exist that does all of that for you, and you just pay and you go and you have a great time. These are also great groups that you can extend your network of professionals and be able to connect with other professionals who like to travel. Or if you don't have anyone in your personal network that you can travel with, you could connect with one of these groups and meet a travel buddy per se, or just join in on one of these curated travel itinerary trips. And this way you could make new travel friends so you can plan future trips. So travel groups are a great resource. So I suggest you jot some of these names down, Google search them, join any that you may want to join, and see if they have any trips coming up. If you want to look for a trip that's already planned, or if you want to connect with others who may be doing their own trip individually and you just want to join in, or maybe you have a trip and you just want someone to join you. So Black travel groups are a great resource, and I hope you guys look into them. I'm going to turn it over to Priscilla, who's going to talk about some of the other things from the agenda.
Okay, thanks. So I think a big resource that both Orion and I use are some flight deal websites. We've been on some great trips. On the bottom right, you'll see my best deal that I've gotten was $343 round trip from New York to Brazil, and Orion's was $200 from New York to Dubai. And whenever we tell people about these deals, they're always like, where do you find these things? How do you find out? So there are a few websites that we put on the right side. My favorite is theflightdeal.com. There's Secret Flying, Airfare Spot, and Travel Zoo, and some other ones. Flight Deal, and most of them show you deals from the major cities, maybe like New York, California cities, Atlanta, Boston. And then the Fair Deal Alert is nice if you live in a smaller city, or you have family that lives in smaller cities like Columbus, Ohio, or I think Raleigh is on there. You can see deals there. Every day they just post whatever the best deals are for the day. So for example, this morning I woke up and I saw that on, I think it was Airfare Spot, there were €5 trips between cities in Europe. And I sent that over to one of my friends that lives in London, and I said, this will not last. And she didn't look into it until 2 hours later, and it was gone. So one of the biggest things that we would say is if you see a deal on any of these sites, book it right away if you're interested. Don't wait for your friends, just book it, because most of the time you can at least cancel it within 24 hours, even if you change your mind. Don't worry about having all of your hotel and car and everything figured out. You can book the flight. Usually it's well in advance, so you have time to figure those things out. For following the websites, you can either subscribe to their daily emails, or you can follow them on Twitter or Instagram. They post all of the deals on there. There's also a way to sign up for a direct text. We'll have a link to that at the end of the presentation. And you can also create things like deal trees where you share any deals that you find with your friends that are interested in traveling, to let them know if you find things. So the top tips, like I said, deals do not last, so book right away if you're interested. Figure out the details later. Don't wait for people because you will miss out, and trips can usually be canceled within 24 hours of booking. Okay, so once you are starting to travel, either you're going to be staying in probably hotels, using different airlines, using different car companies. Make sure you sign up for their loyalty programs. Each company usually has one. They're usually free, and it's just a way to earn points for all the traveling that you're doing. Be very consistent about it. Every time you book something, make sure that you associate it with your reward number so that you can get the credit for it. I'm a huge fan of Starwood. Right now I'm at a Starwood hotel, and there are different things you can do, from like opting out of cleaning your room every day to get 500 points, or choosing to get breakfast or not get breakfast, and you get a few more points that way. I have so many hotel points now from staying for work that when I want to go on a vacation, I can usually find a hotel to stay for free, which is great. The trips can be used for the points can be used for trips and also for status, especially like on the airlines. After you reach a certain amount of miles or points, you'll usually get like a silver or platinum status. Maybe you'll get a free bag that you can check in, or you'll get premium seats, access to first class, things like that. And also there are sometimes ways of expediting your way of earning status. Last year I was flying JetBlue every week for work. And with JetBlue, their program is called Mosaic. They offered a Mosaic challenge in the summer where usually I think you need to earn something like maybe 20,000 points. But the challenge was if you earn 10,000 points within these few months, then you can get an expedited way to getting to their Mosaic status. And so I did that, and I was able to get there sooner. When you reach the higher status, you're usually able to also earn points at a higher rate per dollar. So it's a really easy, free way to earn free travel, just so that you can maximize on the money that you're spending. Next slide, please. Okay, another way to earn free travel, and probably my favorite way, is credit card rewards. And many of the credit cards will offer you ways to earn points or earn cash back, so that you can maximize your travel even more. I would say pay attention to the annual fees on the card. Some of them are free. Some of them might be $100 a month. Some of them are $400 a month. So do pay attention to that. Also, definitely do not keep a balance, because it makes it not really worth getting all the perks if you're paying interest every month on your card. So for me, I make sure to use my card for everything. If I'm in the cafeteria, I'm using my card. If I'm paying my electricity bill, I'm using my credit card, and I'm racking up all those points, but then I'm paying my card off in full at the end of the month so that I can get points. A lot of the programs have like a sign up bonus. So when you sign up, you may have to spend maybe $3,000 within 3 or 4 months. And then like the Sapphire, I think you get 50,000 points if you do that. And then those 50,000 points on Sapphire, I think, translate to about $600 of travel. So that's an awesome way to get free travel just based on your regular purchases that you're already making. Also pay attention to foreign transaction fees. That way, if you're going out of the country and you want to use your card, you're not paying extra for that. Some cards also offer you free global entry or TSA Precheck. I know the Chase Reserve does that. And just to reiterate again, do not keep a balance, because it really won't be worth it for you. But Otherwise, if you can pay your card off in full every month, this is a really, really, really great way to earn travel. That way, if you have a trip that's coming up and it's unplanned, or you have something that is planned, you can just go ahead and use those points. Okay. Okay, so we're coming to the end of our presentation. We kind of just have some miscellaneous travel tips here at the end. Cell phones are a really big thing. If you're leaving the country, people always ask, how can I get in touch with people? So know what your cell phone plan is before you go. Some providers offer free roaming, like T-Mobile is free in a lot of countries I know. Verizon lets you travel and pay maybe $10 a day to still use your same data and minutes that you would have at home. Another option that I've found to be the best for me, because I have Verizon and the $10 a day can add up if you're on a week or two trip, is I got a really cheap phone on Amazon that has a SIM card, and when I get where I'm going, I buy a SIM card in whatever country it is. For instance, I went to Trinidad earlier this year. I bought a SIM card for $2 and I added like $15 of data on it. It turned out to be about 5 gigs or something. And that was enough for a whole week instead of paying $10 a day on Verizon. And I don't have T-Mobile, so I couldn't take advantage of that. Another big question is converting money. What do you do? What's the best way to do it? What's the best way to get the best exchange rate? I would discourage you from exchanging money in advance for the most part, or exchanging money at the airport. Usually the best rate that you can get is if you just bring your debit card with you and find an ATM. Usually when I get to whichever airport I'm going to in whichever country, I'll find an ATM. Do pay attention to ATM fees. Maybe your bank is in another country, or they have a sister bank that you wouldn't have to pay a fee. That's one thing that you can watch out for. Usually the currency exchanges have the highest rates, so you're paying the most and you're getting the least money back. Another thing, always let your bank or credit card know before you travel, because if you leave the country without letting them know, sometimes they will hold up your transactions or not actually let you make them. And know if your card has foreign transaction fees. That way you're not wasting money on those, because there are a lot of cards that have free foreign transaction fees now. Next is security. We all know that we hate waiting in line for TSAs. So if you're traveling a lot and you think that it's of value, I would suggest TSA Precheck or Global Entry. One good tip is if you get Global Entry, so the difference is TSA Precheck you use domestically in the US, and Global Entry is if you're going abroad. When you come back, you won't have to wait in the long line for coming back into the country. A good tip is if you get Global Entry, it's $100, then you also actually get TSA Precheck associated with that. So you don't have to pay for both. The Global Entry is only $15 more than the TSA Precheck, and so you get both of those, and they last for 5 years. So I fly every week for work. It saves my life every week. I don't have to wait in the line. I love that. So I would suggest it. And the last part is about safety and health. Whenever I travel abroad, I usually like to register with the embassy at that website, step.state.gov. Just let them know where you are, just in case you're going somewhere a little bit risky. If anything happens in the country, usually you'll get an email or a text to let you know. And God forbid anything really terrible happens, they know where you are so that they can come get you. Another thing is just knowing about immunizations. Some countries have recommended or required immunizations, so you'll want to know that before you go, and definitely weeks in advance before you go. I know some countries have like malaria pills that you'll need to take in advance. So just really research before you travel anywhere. Okay, and I think the next slide is the last. Okay, so we'll take any questions if anybody has.
All right. Thank you, Lorraine and Priscilla, for that presentation. Definitely very informative, giving everyone the ins and out for traveling both locally and abroad. At this time, we'll open up the room to any questions that any of our audience members might have in regard to this presentation. And in the meantime, while you all are populating your questions, just to give you all a Some information for the upcoming events with our organization. We are looking for volunteers, so if anyone is interested in volunteering with us in New Jersey, professionals, feel free to email info at cjnsbe.org. All right, we have one question in the room. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm interested to find out about, you spoke about credit cards. I wanted to know if you had any recommendations because as you stated, different credit cards have different things, but the main thing overall is just keep a balance off of the credit card. But is there one that's more beneficial than others?
Yeah, so it'll depend on like what you're looking to do. Some people are loyal to different brands, so maybe if you travel SPG a lot, you might want to get an SPG card. But if it's more general, my personal favorite is the Chase Sapphire. I just really like the points that they give you back. I think you earn like 2 points per dollar on restaurants, 2 points per dollar on any travel associated purchases, and then you can redeem those either for cash back or like booking travel directly in the Chase website. But that's my personal favorite. I'd really recommend just doing a search. A great resource for that is if you look up the Points Guy, he has a whole blog all about hacking travel pretty much. And every month, I think he goes through like what are the best credit cards, what do you get for each, so that you can see what the value of points is for each of the cards.
And I think it really depends on what are you looking to get out of that card for yourself. And I think the Points Guy gives a lot of great tips and a lot of breakdowns in the different credit cards. And there's always constantly different offers. And obviously you want to mix the best offer for yourself and what's going to work well for you and your lifestyle. And keep in mind, don't keep a balance. And as Priscilla said.
Yeah.
We do have another question in the chat. When you travel abroad, are you traveling solo, within a group? Do you have any tips for solo travelers? So I can answer that. I haven't traveled internationally by myself, so I really don't have any suggestions there. But I think in joining any of these Black travel groups that we suggested, sometimes there's people that live abroad, and maybe if you can connect with them by saying, hey, I'm traveling to such and such country, they might be willing to meet with you for drinks or dinner or kind of give you the lay of the land, so you might feel more comfortable in having, maybe it's not that personal connection, but you have that group connection. They might be willing to welcome you with open arms. So I belong to one of the travel groups, and anytime I travel to different cities or countries, I always say, hey, I'm in such and such. Anyone wants to get together for happy hour, lunch, breakfast, dinner, et cetera, et cetera. And I've been able to, connect with people that way because I do travel solo for work.
Yeah, I haven't been able to travel solo internationally. I've booked a couple of trips, but I always end up finding somebody that wants to come with me. Like Orain said, we actually met in one of the travel groups. And so whenever I'm going anywhere, I also post it and I'm able to share it. I've made friends in the group and I've taken several trips since I joined a few years ago, and there's always somebody that wants to come. Part of the reason I joined the group was because my friends outside of it, whenever I wanted to travel, there was always something. People either didn't have their money together at the time, or they didn't have time to take off, or one excuse or another. And so it really helped to be able to meet other people that love to travel and wanted to travel. And so that was super helpful. It looks like, oh yeah, and I'll also say one tip that I have heard though for people that do end up traveling solo is to stay at a hostel so that you can meet other people. And they say that that really helps, that you can meet people at the hostel hanging out in the living room or in the kitchen or wherever.
That's a great
tip. We have a couple of other questions coming in. So the next one I think was, how can you book last minute flights? For last minute flights, sometimes those flight deals will have things like you'll notice the deals will either be for very soon or for far in advance. I booked a trip one time more than a year out, so you can never really tell how the deals are going to go. But my favorite website to look at flights actually is just Google Flights. I think it's flights.google.com. You can even just Google the word flights. And it's nice because they show you each of the websites, what the price is on all of the websites, so that you don't have to visit everything altogether. Orion, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I like Google Flights, and I don't have any tips for last minute flight deals. I really wish it was more so like, hey, if a plane is leaving tonight and it has a lot of empty seats, they would drop the price and people could just, jump on board. Unfortunately, the airline industry doesn't work that way, but I don't have any last minute flight suggestions or tips there. I do have the next question from Fatima. Are there any travel hacks that can offer to get around baggage fees? Absolutely. So Fatima, you need to join Team Carry On, and that's how you get around baggage fees. So I am Team Carry On all the way, and I became that way after not losing a bag, but my bag was left behind on a trip. And since then, I try to be Team Carry On. So when I went to Europe, I went for 9 days and I took a backpack, and that's all I brought for me. It was all about being Team Carry On. So that's how I get around baggage fees. Priscilla, do you have another suggestion for that?
Domestically, I usually do carry on. That way I don't pay. But internationally, I do like to have my bigger bag. That way I can get souvenirs and stuff. But usually on an international flight, you can have at least one bag for free. And another hack that I think Orain probably uses too, especially if you took a backpack, is the, what do they call them? Those little like bags that you can put within your suitcase. Do you know what I'm talking about, Orain?
Oh, the packing cubes.
Yeah, packing cubes. You can find them at like the Container Store or
Bed
sometimes
Bath Beyond.
Yeah, Bed Bath and Beyond. Marshalls might have them, and they're just little different size bags with zippers that you can pack your clothes in. So I'll have one for like my jeans and another one for my tops and another one for socks or something. And you'd be really surprised how much space it saves you. You can really pack a lot in those packing cubes and then pack several of the packing cubes into your suitcase. It keeps everything really tightly packed and pretty organized. It's really helpful. I've been able to take a week trip and use a carry-on doing that.
And then also, if you really have to check bags all the time, probably you may want to look at, if you want to go that route, potentially look to one of the credit cards that is paired with one of the airlines that allows you to check a bag for free. So that's another option as well.
Or getting status on one of the airlines will
status,
also
yep.
let you check bags for free. And experiences with travel agents, I see. So I personally have never used a travel agent. Even the trips that Orain mentioned, like where they plan your trips, your itineraries for you in advance, I think that it can be useful, I guess, if you're a really busy person or you just want to be able to relax and take a vacation. But personally, I like to just plan my own stuff. I think that usually I'm able to keep the cost at what I want it to be. And especially with these deals and everything, you can, I think, usually get yourself a pretty good flight deal, a pretty good deal on your flight. And then if you have a good flight deal, then you can stay at an Airbnb, like Orain said, and you can keep the cost down that way. And also, Orain said the travel groups, there's tons of information on not only international cities, but even domestically. I know that we have like information on what restaurants to go to in New Orleans and stuff. So it makes it really easy for you to look at itineraries of what other people have done in cities and come up with your own plan. That way you don't have to rely on a travel agent.
I agree 100% with Priscilla. I like to kind of book my own things. Yeah, I think with travel agents, you're probably going to spend a little more. But if you're just that busy professional that just doesn't have time to plan and you just want someone to take it over and do it for you, then by all means. But I haven't done anything through a travel agent. The only thing I did once was I had a destination wedding and I went through the agent for the resort, and I come to find out, I probably would have saved some money if I would have went directly to the resort itself versus going through the agent. But you live and you learn. So that's my experience dealing with travel agents.
It might be worth just comparing then, like to figure out what the price difference would be. And also another thing, when I'm going to a city, I like to just Google for itineraries. If I know I only have 3 days, I'll literally just Google like 3 days in Rome itinerary, and so many things will come up. So you can come up with ideas that way too.
Yeah, and there is an app, Google Trips, which it connects with your email. So if you have a trip coming up, you could literally go in that app. It'll have your flight information, your hotel information. It'll give you things to do and places to eat and stuff like that right within that app. So that's also a great new resource. The app is a couple months, but I've utilized it a few times.
Yeah.
Great questions.
Yeah.
Please keep them coming if you have some additional ones.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for the information. It sounds like you could forget traveling with people and just travel with Google instead. Google sounds to be a very useful tool there.
Yeah, so here we just have some resources that we wanted to share with you guys. I mentioned the deal alerts. I set these up on the website, if this then that, ifttt.com, and they're linked to one of the travel websites. I can't remember which one I set it up, but every time they post a deal, you'll get either a text or a call, whichever one you sign up for. And that's useful because if you subscribe to their email, then they only send one email a day. And sometimes, unfortunately, by the time the email goes out around 1 or 2 in the afternoon, the deals could be over. So if you can subscribe to even one of these or even their Twitter, where they post things right away, or their Facebook, then you can see the deals right away. We listed out our favorite flight deal websites there. The Points Guy is there to give you information about the best cards. NerdWallet is also another good resource for looking up information about the differences in credit cards. And then more information for your passport, registering with the embassy, and immunizations is down there too. Any other questions?
I believe that's all we have for questions for tonight. Just take a look. Yeah, that's all I'm seeing for now. Thanks for those responses. Definitely informative. And just like to once again thanks Orain and Priscilla for giving for volunteering their time and giving us some useful information on travel hacking and just ways to be mindful of saving money and both mixing both the leisure of travel and the professional lifestyle into one, and finding creative ways to relax and unwind. Definitely, when things get hectic around work, these little travel gems are definitely useful. So with that, if there are no other questions, I'll go ahead and end the webinar. Thanks again. Thanks everyone for joining, and have a good night, everyone.
Thanks
Good night,
for joining.
everyone.
Have a good night.
Thanks for having us.